Good morning, guys. Today is November 13th and it's been like 2 months, almost 2 months since I posted a video. So I figured might as well turn on the camera and give you guys a little bit of an update. It's about 8 o'clock in the morning now, still waiting for my coffee to finish. He did get his 3rd round of chemo yesterday. He seems to do pretty well with it. His first time getting it was definitely the worst. His 2nd and 3rd time, he just gets tired a little bit. Like a couple hours after we get home, he'll take a nap and then he'll be fine. Sometimes he'll get a little bit nauseous a couple days afterwards, but he's a trooper. So I'm gonna go make my cup of coffee and then I will sit down and give you guys more of an update. So a little rundown of things that have happened since I last posted. He got his first chemo, because I think I posted that the day he was getting chemo and it was filmed a few days before that. So he got his first chemo and that one was the most harsh. It's the same regimen that he's still on, but it was the first time that those were introduced to his body. So he was fine while he was getting them. With all of his stuff, he gets a steroid, or like pre-meds, but one of his pre-meds is a steroid, and that kind of got him a little jittery. He gets his Keytruda first, and then he gets his pre-meds, which is a quick acting anti-nausea and a longer lasting anti-nausea, and then he gets a steroid, and then he'll get his Alimta and then his carboplatin. And the steroid always kind of makes him a little restless and jittery a little bit, and the first time that was a lot more intense. And then after we had left, he kind of felt like it was like an out-of-body experience. That's how he described it. And then he was fine for like a couple hours, and then he just wanted to come home and sleep. And that's pretty much what happens after every treatment, but it's just not as bad as it was the first time. So he seems to handle it pretty well. When you think about chemo, you think, oh, it's gonna be horrible. And luckily for him, it hasn't been that bad. He still has all of his hair. He has a lot of hair. So like his hair is super thick and he has a lot of it. So I guess it might be a little bit more thin than it was, but he has so much of it that you can't really tell. And he hasn't really been sick. He has been maintaining his weight. He's actually, when we started this, he was 219, and yesterday he was 223. So he is not losing weight, and that is great. All in all, he is doing so good, and I'm so thankful for that. We have pulled our children out of school. I don't know if I mentioned that in our last video, but we pulled them out pretty quick just because my kids seem to catch every sickness that they come in contact with. Normally by now we've already fought off like 3 or 4 sicknesses in the school year, so I'm definitely thinking that we made the right decision because they haven't been sick yet. Knock on wood that they don't get sick. They still do go to church because I do feel like it is good for them to have some kind of social interaction. So they do go to church on Sundays, and my mom has been a huge help. They stay the night over at her house probably like 2 times a week, and then sometimes she'll also sleep over here. And then like this time we noticed that he gets a little bit more irritable a few days afterwards. So this time around they went over there and stayed the night before chemo, and then they're going to be over there for a couple days just to let him kind of settle in, I guess. So my mom has been a huge help. And my stepmom, my dad actually came with her yesterday, but normally my stepmom will come and she'll stay at our house with Amelia because the boys will be over at my mom's house, just so it's not really chaotic when we get home. So she comes over and watches the baby while we go, and that's been such a big help. I'm so thankful for the village that we have. And I know that my stepmom watches these videos, so thank you, Amy. I appreciate you so, so much. We have a camera in our room, and Millie is asleep in there with Kegan, and so I've got it on, trying to hear for when she does wake up, so that hopefully she doesn't wake up Kegan, because I don't like to, if I do wake up first, which normally doesn't happen, but if I do wake up first, I try and let him sleep as much as he can. So that's why I keep looking down. So the kids don't go to school anymore. Cade was actually in like a pre-K class, so his school wasn't required. Daniel is in 2nd grade, so he's doing like an online school for now, and he's doing really well with it. I did cut my hair. Postpartum hair loss got the better of me, and I went ahead and I chopped it all off. It's pretty short, but I can still kind of do a ponytail. That way whenever it does fall out, it's not like super long pieces, and it doesn't like just hang over everything. And then I dyed it because I was getting some gray hairs, but it does look really close to my natural hair color. Also, since the last time I made a video, oh gosh, okay, so I broke like half of my tooth back here, fell off. It had been chipping for a while, but I hate the dentist, so I was just like, oh, it's fine. And it got to the point where it wasn't fine. Like the back half of it like completely came off. So I went to the dentist and she filled it really quick. I think it was on like a Saturday that I went, so she just filled it really quick so it wasn't like cutting me. And that's actually a tooth that I got a root canal on like a long time ago. Like probably whenever I was like 10 is when that had a root canal. But they didn't put a cap on it, they just put the filling in it, and that's why that happened. So I went and she filled it in, and then I went back a little bit later so she could put a temporary crown on it and do the stuff for the permanent crown. And in doing that, she drilled down into like the soft tissue that's under my tongue, and there was a huge hole there that was very painful. She had tried to sew it because it was like a pretty big hole, and then she went back to drilling on my tooth and she ripped the stitch out with her drill. What an experience. And then I eventually did go back and she put the permanent crown on, and it's been fine ever since. That hole did heal and it's normal again, so that's good. Then about a week or so later, I started having pain on my side, and I'm used to getting cysts on my ovaries. That tends to happen quite a bit actually, but this time it was lasting for a lot longer and it was a lot more painful. I ended up having to go to the emergency room, and it was a hemorrhagic cyst, and that's where like the cyst takes over one of the veins or blood vessels, something like that, on your ovary. And so that was very painful. By the time I went to the emergency room, it had already ruptured, so I guess I was kind of already on the mend, but it was super painful. But that's better now. We sold Kegan's truck, his baby. He loved his truck, but he had smoked in it for years, and I think the people before him even smoked in it. I didn't really ride in the truck a lot. I am a truck girl, and I would drive it at first just because I love trucks. But he put a toolbox in the back and I could no longer see out the back of it. Plus I didn't really like, occasionally we would take it out to the races, but I didn't really like the smell of it because it was like super strong. So he went ahead and sold his truck. And it's actually funny because I had been looking, I drive a van, just because we have a lot of younger babies. We actually got it when Landen was still a super tiny baby, and that's just been what's most convenient. But I was getting to the point where I was tired of the van, and I was trying to convince him to buy me an SUV. My dream car has always been a Tahoe, but after doing like lots of research, I settled on an Expedition is what I wanted, because they were more spacious and I liked the look of them on the inside a lot better. So I've been trying to convince him to sell my van and get me an Expedition before all of this happened. But he ended up finding an Expedition for the same amount that we sold his truck for. So we got that actually yesterday before chemo, and now I have an Expedition. I love my husband. He's so great. He does stuff like that. When we first got together, I didn't think that he would ever be the amazing man that he is today. Not that he wasn't a good guy before, but he's just full of surprises. My mother-in-law came to visit also, and that was great. I had never met her before. I was really anxious because it was like she was going to be here the day before he started chemo, and I didn't know what chemo was going to be like, plus meeting a new person. And she actually stayed at our house for about 5 days. It was a little nerve-wracking, but she came, and I love his mom. I don't have the best track record with his family, with his dad's side of the family, so it's really nice to finally have somebody in his family that I get along with, and she's great. And she's actually coming back for Christmas, and she's bringing Kegan's brother and sister, and I can't wait to meet them. I can't really think of anything else that's been going on. The main thing is that he is doing so well. I'm so excited about it. His breathing before all of this sat at like 90. I remember for his lung biopsy, they kept having to put oxygen on him because to release people from the recovery, they have to be at least 91 on their oxygen. So they had to keep putting oxygen on him to get him back up to 91. But he just doesn't, he sits at about 90. But last time he got his chemo for his second round, we saw the oncologist first. We always see the oncologist before we go into the chemo room. And his oxygen was at 92, which is great. And she listened to the airflow in his lungs, and she said that it sounds way better. And I was like, that's strange, because whenever he was diagnosed and we were told that it was stage 4, I was like, there's no way. So I would like put my ear on his chest and try and listen, because on these scans it just looks huge. It doesn't look like he would be able to, you know, breathe very well. And the biggest tumor is on this side, and then he's got a little bit on the bottom half of this side. So on this side, I would put my ear up to his chest, and you couldn't really hear anything. And on this side, you could, but it still didn't sound like all that much. So she said that, and then whenever we got home a few days later, I was like, So I put my ear on his chest, and I could hear this lung sounds almost normal, and this one sounds about half of what this one is, when before I could not hear anything off of this one. So I am very hopeful that it is working, and he's doing amazing. Things are starting to finally like calm down and seem a little bit normal, like we're finding our new normal. And so I feel like I want to get back to doing what I love, which is YouTube. And I feel bad for not posting, because we just hit 9,000 subscribers, which is crazy. When I first started, I was like, I'm not even gonna get to 500 subscribers, and here we are at just over 9,000. So thank you guys for all of the love and support and being so patient with me. I really appreciate that. You can follow me over on Instagram. I'm not very good at posting over there either, but I do from time to time. So if you go a while without seeing a video, just head on over to Instagram. It's Tiffany_Entwistle.